It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
Well, it's Inside the Patch, and I'm bringing in the big guns. I've got Mitch Adams, the professor of the perfect rotation basketball training tool, right? That's what we got. And at perfectrotation.com is where you get information on that. Look at that thing.
Yes.
Look at that. That was perfect rotation when you just picked it up like that. And I'm noticing that Raider jacket, that is like legit.
Well, Charlie, divine intervention hit us on Sunday. And so I figured I had to go to church. So I pulled out my Sunday best. This is my church attire, baby.
Yeah, man. I mean, that is like slick. Well, I got the Santa hat on only because Santa came early and gave me that game. And I was like, what a great stocking stuffer that was. I mean, that was hard to watch. Did you just feel the deflation of, oh my gosh, we did it again? Oh
yeah, no doubt. That interception in the third quarter, out in the flats. Well, not really in the flats, but just a short pass to Devontae, and the defensive back jumped it. Obviously, they saw that in preparation. Gone.
I was like,
oh my God, we're going to do it again. In fact, we did do it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I go, we just lost it, man. We just lost it. But then we make a nice stop. We make a good stop. Oh, we're getting the ball back with 1:45. Okay, all right, see what we can do. And first one deep, miss. Then a couple nice long outs, and then how about that touchdown? And maybe a slight bit of tuck rule payback. I don't know.
Well, Charlie, if you make a play and you call it one way on the field,
right,
you need indisputable evidence to overturn it. And I didn't see anything to say, okay, because from the angle, it wasn't definitive that the foot was in or out.
I don't know how many times I look. Sometimes I look at the lineman, I go, that guy's offsides. And it's just the angle of the camera as opposed to, right. And I'm like, no, wait. Oh, no, we're okay. But have you seen his shoes up close? They got a black edge. So they're white, but there's black around the edge. I think that was the game changer. I think if you had a microscope, I think his black tip is probably, it's a white tip, white around it. They're black with white around it because the white, you can't see it. It's camouflaged. It was camouflaged. It was like,
wow.
I was like, wow. Nonetheless,
but guess what?
The call was the call.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we have to
take it because too many times we're on the opposite end of those calls.
Oh, and we'd be like, the NFL, the refs suck, and blah, blah, and there's nothing you can do. Nothing. And then, when they did that, Chandler Jones misses the tackle, right? And then that guy breaks free, and he pitches it. And I've been on teams before where, I don't know, basketball team, and all of a sudden, I guess we're doing the fast break. We're not doing what the coach said because, I don't know, it's the moment. You just do it. You're like, we're pitching. Let's pitch, And it's game time. A smart player would have just sat down. But,
go to overtime.
But no, Chandler Jones with a reception. Or interception, I guess.
Well, no. That's like a fumble recovery because it was a lateral, so it's not an interception.
That's right. But he made a nice catch. And how about he just said, not today, Jones.
Not today. Boom. Yeah, that was amazing.
But
and
then
my neighbors must think.
Then there was a flag, though, But I was going, But it was. They
was
threw it
there
away.
A flag?
It said flag.
It did say flag.
It was on the Patriots though. So then it was. I don't even know what it was. I just know I saw flag and I go, oh no.
Right. I saw it too because my son and I were going crazy, and I know my neighbor thinks we're crazy because it's just, whether it's the Warriors or the Raiders, we're always screaming over here, or the World Cup for that matter.
Yeah.
And I see on the TV flag, and I'm like, are you kidding me? But then a call was never made.
Yeah. And then when I see Belichick grumble across the field, I go, we won. We won. We won. Oh. And now it makes me so mad about the Cardinal game and the Rams game, all those games that were that we would be in such a better position with one more win,
One more win. Oh, yeah, you're right. We would be in so much of a better position. But it is what it is.
Right.
You can't go back and change it. So there's still a pathway to the playoffs. Right.
I know.
We just need help.
3 more games, and we need help. And you know what? We just got to win all 3 and then hope,
Yeah.
But some people have to fall apart.
The Jets need to lose 1. Jacksonville needs to lose 1. The Patriots need to lose 1 out of their next 3. And
I think Cardinals have to. Chargers have to lose 2.
They have to lose 2, and there's one other team. And that wasn't the case last week. I don't know what happened.
It changes every time.
There's another team. Yeah.
I think the Steelers are still in the hunt.
The only thing that they could be. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure either. I don't know. I just know that a lot of stuff has to happen.
That's a big game, though.
No,
we go back
if we lose, it's over. We have to win all 3.
That's simple. So we go back to Pittsburgh. I was going to say Three River Stadium, but what is it, Heinz Field?
Yeah.
And for the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, or as George Atkinson called it, the Immaculate Deception. And we have to win that game.
Before the Tuck rule, that was the Tuck rule before the Tuck rule. That was the one play that the nation could never shake. And it's the 50th anniversary now.
Yeah. There was another play, too, in the playoffs that doesn't get a lot of attention that really went against us. It was 1977. Jack Tatum hits Rob Lytle in Denver going over the top.
Oh,
Bumbles.
That's right. I remember that.
And the ball was, I think it was Dave Rowe or Sistrunk. Somebody had it headed back the other direction for a touchdown, and it was blown dead. Clear fumble. We would have gone to back-to-back Super Bowls.
Changes. I mean, it's crazy. And it's crazy how it is such a weird thing. Even I don't think the Immaculate Reception today would be a catch because he did use the ground to catch it. I don't think it would stand.
But also back then, 2 offensive players couldn't touch the ball in a row. So if it touched Frenchie Plouquois and Jack hit him and it bounces off of Frenchie, then that's an illegal reception back in those days. They changed that in the 80s or 90s.
Right.
2 offensive players in a row could touch it. But then you couldn't. Crazy rules that didn't make any sense.
And then there it is. And then we're still complaining. It's been 50 years.
I think that's how I became a fan, hearing my dad cursing probably at that game.
Yeah, exactly.
as a little boy. What's going on?
Well, so we really need to go in there and I didn't feel like we handled the Patriots like we could have, and I thought it was once again we played half a game, and then it fell apart. I'm like, we got to put the whole game together.
Well, I do think we still have shiny things to play with in Adams and Jacobs.
Right.
They are still doing what they need to do to help us. And Carr, outside of that interception, he was serviceable. He did what he had to do. Now, Waller ran a bad route on a play that was going to Adams.
That could have been a game changer.
Getting his head back into the game and remembering his plays will be helpful. Renfro in the punt game looked very nice back there. I mean, it didn't break off a lot of yards, but I feel comfortable back there with him receiving the ball and knowing that
he's reliable.
Going to. Yeah, he's reliable, and he's going to get you a few yards and put you in good position. So, let's hope that all of those things mesh better so that we can get a full 4 quarters out of our offense, because we know defensively, we need to help them out with offense.
Well, we've got to grow because the following 2 games are even harder, So if we cannot manhandle Pittsburgh or grow, we have our work cut out for us, But the advantage, if you're looking ahead, which I don't like to do, is that they don't have to win. They're already sitting fat on the beach, but they hate the Raiders. So I don't know,
Well, that will go for both Game 16 and Game 17. Both of those teams have won their divisions. So they have nothing to play for other than perhaps number 1 in the conference, because the number 1 seed is the only team that gets a bye this year. And so,
well, but the other thing is, if they don't want to get hurt, you can't afford to lose anybody in the last week of the season. It doesn't matter, True.
And so, now, I don't know. I think the Eagles may have. Well, I guess if they lost the next 2, they would, or the next 3.
But how about the Steelers and Raiders? I mean, that was the 70s. That was the Dolphins, Steelers, Raiders. Those powerhouses just kept going around and round.
How many championship games did the Raiders play in the 70s? Was it 7 or 8?
And it was always Pittsburgh. It was like we ended up playing Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh or Miami. Well, those were our arch nemesis in the 70s. And each of those teams went on to win. They won 6 Super Bowls, in the 70s, maybe 5 Super Bowls between the 2 teams in the 70s. I think Pittsburgh won it. No, they won it.
The 72 Dolphins were perfect.
So, six out of the Super Bowls were won by AFC teams that beat us in the Super Bowl. And in the 70s, the Raiders were probably the second best team in the NFL.
Well, the year before we won the Super Bowl, we lost to the Steelers. I remember, and it was like devastating because we could have had it. We should have had it,
Yeah. But, those were tough times, and then we finally get over the hump. But yeah, the Steelers are, when you think of football of the 70s, I think of Raiders Steelers.
Yeah.
And having worked with so many of the former players, especially the ones that played in that era, that when they talk about games, it always comes back to the Steelers. We wanted those guys because we matched up so well with them and vice versa. And they were out for blood, man. The AFC.
Yeah.
It's a different game. It was a different game.
A different time, a different game.
A lot more violent than it is today.
Well, not just violent, but also you pretty much stayed on a team the whole career. You didn't move around a lot in the 70s.
That's true. And so the rivalry really meant something because you had maybe 40 mainstays that,
right.
You might have 10 or 15 guys that might have changed, maybe due to retirement or coming in as rookies, but the core of your team, unlike today, stayed together for like a decade.
I bet one of those Pittsburgh Raider games is the game with the most Hall of Famers on the field at one time. Could be.
Oh, my goodness.
Because think about it. Think about that. There was a period where all those guys so many are in. Like, I bet we had 7-on-7 at Hall of Fame, possibly. I don't know. I mean, that's a stat I would love to find out.
Well, they certainly put the Steelers in a lot sooner than they did the Raiders. But Stabler,
it just takes us long.
Grant, Casper, because he played in some of those games. Shale Upshaw, that's 5 right there.
Well, Howie Long was he? No, he wasn't in that one.
No, Hendricks makes.
Yeah. Willie Brown.
Willie Brown 7.
Lester Hayes.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Come on. We need him just so we can beat him.
There's a lot.
He's got a chance.
Now, you know who's going to be in. Yep. Dude, How many interceptions did he have in that 80 season?
Oh, shoot.
I mean, it was 13, 14? It was something ridiculous. Then I think he had one in every playoff game.
Oh, wait, but we had Stabler and Ray Guy. I forgot.
Ray Guy is a Hall of Famer. That's 8. Just
Stabler,
off the Raiders.
Stabler?
Yeah. Yeah, that's 8 right there. That's a lot.
That's a lot. You can only put 11 on the field. And we got 8 on our team. I know they were both sides, but that's a crazy stat to think about.
Then you know my good pal Phil Villapiano will be at that game. And fun fact, Phil brought Franco Harris to Oakland to the final Raider-Steeler game in Oakland.
Oh, nice.
And I caught up with Phil and Franco. Franco, as much as I hated him growing up and up until the point I met him at that game, and when I met him, just the nicest guy. The nicest guy. And I said, "You want to talk about that catch?" He's like, "Nope."
Hey, I want Villapiano on the show because here's the thing. From the time I was 7 to 11, I wore his jersey just about every day. The number 41, Villapiano on the back. To church, to school. I lived in that thing. We got to make this happen.
What a great. You want to make that happen?
I want to make that happen. Before the season's over, make that happen. We'll figure it out. All right.
I will give him a call tomorrow.
Okay, so now, let's go to Heinz Field right now. All right. We're at Heinz Field. It's Christmas Eve. You know, Santa's got the toys loaded up. He's not ready to go. He's waiting until the game's over, and he's watching this thing. What's going to happen? How do we start off fast? I get scared when we get up by 14. I get scared.
So let's not even talk about the first half because we know that we can put points up in the first half.
Right.
So let's just assume we go in half 17-7 Raiders. That's fair enough.
Okay.
Third quarter is where we need to come out and put up another 14 points.
We haven't won a coin toss or a third quarter in a while.
We haven't won a coin toss?
I don't think so. They're always deferring to us. I know what scares me? The name of the field is Ketchup. It's Heinz. So we must not catch up. We must not let them catch up.
Well, let's not let them catch up. Let's, again, just like last week when I said we need to put up 28 to 35 points in the first half and then allow them to do whatever they're going to do in the second half. I don't even want that to be the case this week. So offensively, I do think we'll be able to do what we want to do because we've got all of our weapons back and they'll be much better suited 2 weeks in than they were last week, Waller and Renfro. And they'll do what we need them to do. Waller taking up space in the middle. You know, he caught a touchdown last week. So
yeah,
I do think that we'll be much better. And I think getting Renfro involved in the passing game will open things up for Josh Jacobs to do his thing.
I agree.
And then defensively, playing from a larger lead will allow them to be a little more relaxed. And so I do think the urgency in the second half will be to come out and put up some points quickly. And that's what I see happening. I don't see us having the same collapse because we know lose and go home,
right?
Win and possibly. No, I think you could still win and still none of that has to happen this week, and we could still be alive leading into the last 2 weeks. So there'll still be a chance. We just have to win.
One last thing before we leave. And why I am thankful. I am thankful that the Patriots did not have the perfect rotation training device because that was a crappy pass he threw at the end. And if they had the perfect rotation, it wouldn't have gone our way. So do not let the Patriots have the perfect training basketball device. Can I see that one more time? Let me see that thing. Because it was not perfect rotation. So that was a lifesaver. But if you are playing basketball and you need perfect rotation, because you've taught me this, you got to get rid of the chicken wing. And what is the chicken wing? Where's that at? Right there. Can't have that. Can't have that. Players. Perfect
this
rotation.
From the weight, right under, elbow under the ball.
Perfect rotation.
Yeah.
Professor
Yes,
Mitch Adams, former employee of the Oakland Raiders. I think I said you were employed for 30 years, but I don't know how long you were there. Look at that helmet.
This is Darren McFadden's old helmet.
McFadden? Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know how I came in possession of it, but I have it. So
I was in the locker room one time, and you got to understand, and this is back when Wheatley was there, and Wheatley was just crazy. And after the game, he's just like, Gnarley Charley! He was singing at me, yelling, but he was butt naked. And I'm like, I got Wheatley singing at me naked, and I'm like, I'm glad this is a video. But that's what I remember. It was just fun and crazy.
Tyrone was a lot of fun. When I first season there, we had to do a function together, and I just assumed he would forget who I was, 2 seasons later. And I'm like, hey, I had to do something with him. I said, Tyrone, we did something. He said, yeah, I know who you are. I'm like, you do? I'm like, oh my God, I've arrived. And I was going to try to mix in the fact that it's the 40th anniversary of the Cal 5-pitch lateral. And that's immediately what I thought about when they started pitching the ball in the Raiders' previous game.
Oh, really?
At the end. And one of my good friends, Dwight Garner, who just passed away just before the 40th anniversary this past November, I went to the game, Cal and Stanford, because 40 years ago, I found myself on the field during the 5-pitch lateral. And
wow.
I met Kevin Moan at the game recently, and I said, hey, I was in the 12th grade during that play, and, good friends with Dwight Garner, and I was on your back in the end zone celebrating with you. And, of course, in good fashion, he said, all these years I was wondering who that was hanging on my back. But I see myself every year, Charlie.
In the highlight jumping?
In the highlights, because we were in the 12th grade, and they opened the gates at Cal. We used to sit on the hill, Tightwad Hill, and watch the game over the wall. And then they'd open the gates before halftime, and we'd go in and find a seat. And we thought the game was over. And so we said, let's go run on the field. In last game of the season, the security guard says, you better not run on this field. And there were like 10 of us. We're like, he can't catch all of us. So we just took off all different directions and had no idea that what was happening on the field.
Right with that,
and I'm in the end zone, and here comes Kevin Moan into the end zone, and I'm in there celebrating with them. That's so what
funny.
that play reminded me of that. So,
that's beautiful. All right, Mitch, thanks again, brother. We will talk next week, maybe with Filippiano, and maybe with another W. That's what I want.
Well, let's get that W, and I'm going to work on Phil.
Love it. Love it.
And I really think Phil will come on. I really do.
I love it.
That'll be great.
All right, we'll see you next week.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.